Auburn and Hugh Freeze have landed five-star quarterback Jackson Arnold in the transfer portal. What does this mean for him and Auburn's offense moving forward? We'll talk about it right after the stinger. If you like what we are doing here at Campus to Canton, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button so we can spread the good word of college fantasy football to the entire world, and we need your help doing it. So again, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We are trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Why not? End of the year, or at least the end of January. All right, Jackson Arnold, former five-star quarterback, he entered the portal from Oklahoma and has now landed at Auburn. Not where I was expecting him to go. I thought maybe Hugh Freeze's former quarterback, Canton, who had also entered the transfer portal, would be joining Auburn, but they do go and get former five-star Jackson Arnold. Now, he was a five-star for all of the services. He was a number one quarterback for ESPN. Rivals had him at 5, On 3 had him at 3, and 24/7 Sports had him at 4. Was a very highly recruited quarterback as well. Put up some fairly good stats in high school football, played at Denton Guyer, won them a state championship, over 3,700 yards passing. He had a 66% completion percentage and a 34-5 touchdown interception ratio passing the ball. But he also added 1,100 yards on the ground with 25 rushing touchdowns. So he was a dual threat quarterback in high school. And we have seen a little bit of that on the college football level. Is obviously last year did not have a great year at Oklahoma, was benched at one point for true freshman Michael Hawkins there, but finished the year with 1,984 passing yards, a 12-3 touchdown to interception ratio, and a 62% completion percentage, adding 444 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. So not quite the prolific stats we saw from him in high school, but still a good season, as a first-year starter. Again, a player who did get benched and did get a little bit banged up as well. As I mentioned, dual threat athlete here, who Peyton Thorne was as well, who Auburn had last year, and from a fantasy perspective was fine. 25.81 points, fantasy points per game for Peyton Thorne last year, finished 45th. So in those leagues where you're starting 3 quarterbacks, Peyton Thorne was likely a guy who was started a few times for some teams. Jackson Arnold finished with 199.5 points. The 94th ranked quarterback, again, was benched. We're talking about him from a dual threat spot. We have him at a 20.8 mile per hour. That's fairly good for a quarterback. An athleticism score of a 66.5 and his arm velo at 54, which is about average. You'd like to see something closer to 60. A lot of the top recruits in this class, including one Deuce Vaughn, are sitting up at the 58 mark. The highest we've had, just to give everybody who's watching this video an idea, was Josh Allen in high school with a 63. So obviously Jackson Arnold falls a little bit shorter of that, coming in at a 54 compared to Deuce Knight, who they're also bringing as a true freshman to Auburn at a 58. He comps very favorably in our athleticism score, and a player I think he could be like is Ryan Tannehill. Now, Arnold is a much better passer than Ryan Tannehill, but to give you guys an idea. Coming over from Auburn, he is joining a team with a much better wide receiver core, but the offensive line is it looks like, at least at this moment, taking a small step back. Oklahoma had the 15th ranked offensive line in the C2C winning edge. Auburn has a 25th. They last year finished with the 32nd ranked pass offense and the 49th ranked rush offense for a 48th ranked overall offense. But again, they're coming in with the 7th ranked wide receiver core, and that's probably going to get a little bit better when we see some of these other wide receivers leaving and going to the NFL or transferring. When you have Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, and Perry Thompson, those are by far not only just singly the best wide receivers that Jackson Arnold has had on his roster, the best wide receiver core. And I think you could argue going into the 2025 season that is the best wide receiver core in all of college football. So Jackson Arnold has the weapons. He will have a good offensive line. He will be set up to succeed. And Hugh Freeze, I think, could get the best out of him. Not only did he show us what Caden Salter could possibly be in his last year at Liberty, but he was the reason Malik Willis got drafted highly, and a lot of people thought he was going to be who he was. Malik Willis was an absolute stud from fantasy purposes and on the college football field with Hugh Freeze as his quarterback. Now, I don't think that Jackson Arnold is quite the athlete and does not clearly have the arm that Malik Willis has, but he is still a very good quarterback. And going here to Auburn, Hugh Freeze should be able to get the best out of Jackson Arnold. We should possibly see him return. Anybody who's rostered Jackson Arnold and thought about flipping him, I think now, if you don't believe this landing spot's good, can flip him because it's going to look very good. But I do think that Arnold will rebound a lot of value here. The big key for me, I think, is going to be, what does this mean now for Arnold, and does he stay 2 years, and what that looks like for Deuce Knight's future, who did flip and come here as a recruit and is a highly rated recruit. He's a tier 1 quarterback for me, which Jackson Arnold was not in our recruiting rankings. And also, what happens with Walker White, who is also a great athletic quarterback they brought in last year's class? Does Walker White stick around? There's a lot of things you're going to have to now be answered with Jackson Arnold coming over here. But from a fantasy perspective and a college football perspective, it makes a lot of sense for Jackson Arnold and for Hugh Freeze, because in my opinion, Jackson Arnold coming in here is at this moment a much more accurate passer than Peyton Thorne, Walker White, Deuce Knight, and even Malik Willis when he had him at Liberty. Let me know what you guys think about Jackson Arnold landing with Auburn in the comments. Do you guys like it? Do you not? We'll talk to you guys again soon.